Hi, everybody. This is our lecture for risk analysis for January 30th, 2023. I will record this. I'm recording this on the 29th of January, and I'll post it to our Moodle page to show you how to navigate the lecture notes and to watch the lectures so that you'll be ready to do the work for this week. So let's get started by taking a look at our Moodle page. And here you'll see that underneath the week number 3, that I have posted some reading assignments, actually 4 articles. The original Ford Pinto memo, which is written in a typeset from the 1970s, so it's really interesting. Pinto Madness, which is a response to the original Pinto memo written in Mother Jones News. And then another one, How Much Are Your Body Parts Worth from Workers' Comp, which is an interesting concept and sort of violates the idea of risk management entirely. And then reading assignment 4 is Risk versus Opportunity. So to begin our lecture today, what I'd like to do is to take this idea of distinguishing between danger, risk, and opportunity. And I'm going to start by defining and talking a little bit about each one of those. Because risk management, which is what we're approaching right now, we've approached what risk is or what it feels like and what it looks like and how we respond to it. And today I want to talk about what actually risk is, and more specifically what it isn't. Because all of us, depending on our natural tendencies and proclivities, tend to miss not only under or overestimate risk, but we also, there's a couple of imposters that we sometimes will assume a risk that are not. And if something isn't a risk, it really cannot be managed. So the first thing, like I said, what we need to do is to decide, are we really dealing with a risk? And so a question pops out of that question, which is, what else can we confuse with, what else can confuse us at the assessment stage? So in other words, when we're assessing, is this a risk at all? Very often, it's easy to mistake a danger or an opportunity for risk. And danger is not a risk, and neither is opportunity. So I want to talk briefly about each one of those things. So a danger is a one-sided uncertainty, the possibility that something bad will happen with no upside. When you're reading through the articles for this week, you'll find out, or you may have heard, it's a pretty famous case about the Ford Pinto. But back in the early 1970s, Ford Pintos had a tendency that their gas tanks would explode if a car was hit from behind, if a Pinto was hit from behind. And that's a danger. It was handled in some ways like a risk by the federal government, but actually it's just a danger because there is no upside to cars catching on fire with people inside of them. That's all danger, that's all downsides. So when we talk about dangers, we generally can't measure it in monetary value. And sometimes people try to do that. Companies try to do that, but it's really not possible. Dangers should be minimized, not managed. So treating a danger as a risk, which means saying, well, 5,000 people are going to drive and 2 of them are going to catch on fire and die. And that's going to cost the company $150,000. Totally made up all these numbers, by the way. But treating, what that's basically doing is take a danger and treating it as a risk. And that is just called heartless. Another thing that can happen is treating danger as an opportunity, which we'll talk about a little bit farther down, is called thrill seeking. So some people, I remember, for example, my son, one time when he was a child, wanted to do something incredibly dangerous. And he said to me, I said, I don't want you to do that. You might get hurt. And he thought about it for a minute and he says, well, but I might not get hurt and it might be fun. And I really realized at that moment, I was kind of in over my head. But what he was doing in his mind was treating a danger as though it was an opportunity, because he thought, well, maybe I'll just have fun. Maybe I won't get hurt. And that's called thrill seeking. So danger, one-sided, don't manage it, minimize it. A risk, on the other hand, is a two-sided uncertainty. the amount of appropriate risk should be determined based on your goals. Now, when we're talking about financial goals, any company, any business that we participate in, we have to stay afloat. I really hesitate to say that the goal of every business is making money, because people want to make money in different ways, especially in smaller businesses. For example, if you are a farmer and you love to farm and you love your family's land and you want to manage the risk on that farm, and somebody says to you, well, there's really this opportunity for you. You could just sell all your land and subdivide it and make a bucket of money right now today. That's really not based on your goals. Perhaps later on, in some point in your life, your goal may become to not farm and to have a bucket of money. But as long as your goal is to keep farming, selling your land is counterproductive. So we need to select an optimal amount of risk based on objective external circumstances. And that's where that idea of being cool-headed and disciplined comes in, which we'll be discussing over the course of the next several weeks. But in the broadest of all senses, there are three ideas in risk management. The first is to use your best judgment and to measure the outcomes continuously. In other words, you don't want to wait for an extended period of time to measure whether something is working, whether you are moving toward a goal in a prudent fashion. Every opportunity you get, you should stop and measure. So one of the things that I would equate with this is at Northwest College, two of my colleagues and I are teaching an endorsement program for K-12 teachers to become endorsed in teaching computer science. And we stop every semester and we visit with the teachers and we take in data from them, what's working, what isn't working. And then we take that data and we discuss it amongst ourselves, and we make a decision as to whether we should stay on that same path or whether we should change something. And we've changed a lot of things. For example, we've changed programming languages, we've changed the sequence of courses, we've changed some of the content based upon the measurement of receiving data and then acting upon it in a continuous fashion. The next is to think of risk in terms of size or amount rather than yes or no. There's little risks that we take every day. There's huge risks that we take every day. But when you take a huge risk, it should be worth it. So if you take a little risk, for example, if you take your car and you drive it to work, well, there's a little bit of a risk associated with that. If you have a respiratory condition and it's flu season and COVID season and you go out in public, there's a little risk associated with that. But you can minimize that risk by wearing a mask. You can minimize the risk of driving by driving safely, maybe not going to work late and speeding. So just taking normal precautions. Other things have huge outsized risk and they should be worth it. And the one that comes to mind for me, because, well, to start with, I've been reading everybody's introductions. And first of all, congratulations. You are an amazing group of people. You have lived amazing lives. And I'm learning so much from reading your essays. But something that occurred to me, some of the people in this group who are married people who have children have indicated that they don't feel that they've really taken a lot of risks in their lives. Well, I would beg to differ. I mean, having a child is probably one of the most risky things we can do. We tend to underplay it or think it's not as dangerous as it is because we don't really routinely see women dying in childbirth and children dying in childbirth. But 100 years ago, that was really normal. So the process of giving birth or being a child who is being born is extraordinarily dangerous. And yet, I would offer that the risk is extremely worth it. If you are a person who wants to build a family, you know, and obviously if you're a child that wants to get born, the risk is worth it because that's just what there is. But maybe, you know, maybe as you move forward in your life, maybe if you're 52 years old and you're in ill health and so forth, I'm speaking as a woman, maybe having a child at that point is not worth the risk to you or to the child. So in other words, if you have a big risk, you want it to be a big payoff. Little risk, little payoff, it all works. But don't think of it in terms of yes or no, right? So you need to think of it in terms of size and amount. The third one, and this deals more for investing, is keep risk constant over time. For example, if you've invested a lot of money or any money really in a 401k or a retirement account, and when you're 58 years old and you look at your amount and you say, well, holy cow, I haven't really had a lot of growth. So you take your stuff out of secure stocks and bonds and put them into highly risky stocks and bonds. You've really made a problem for yourself. It's possible that it may pay off, but it's likely that it will not pay off, and you may end up worse off than you are right now. So that is something, and also just different people, this keeping risk constant over time has a lot to do with the human condition, in the sense that we've talked about in our past couple of weeks, that some people have a huge capacity for risk and other people have a lower capacity for risk. So we need to factor that into our decisions as well. So you really don't want to stagnate if you have a high capacity for risk and you know that if you lose something, you could brush it off and move forward. Or if you have a low capacity for risk and putting something into risky investments is going to drive you crazy, it's not really a great idea. So those are just some other ways to think about risk. Now, on the opposite side, like I said, they're not the same thing, but danger, risk, and then opportunity. Opportunity is a one-sided uncertainty, much like danger was a one-sided uncertainty, but it's basically the possibility of something good happening with no downside. And generally, opportunity can't be measured in an immediate monetary value. So an idea I think about for an opportunity would be if you are a baseball coach and your pitcher has a possibility of hitting a no-hitter. That's a really cool thing, and it's an opportunity. You might choose to leave that pitcher in a little bit longer than you would normally because of that possibility of hitting a no-hitter. Another type of opportunity financially might be, and this is one that actually kind of backfired, so it's not a great idea, but I'll go ahead and talk about it. Back in the early 1990s, the Montana Power Company, which was it was a monopoly in terms of delivering power, was a regulated monopoly, delivering power to the state of Montana, felt like they had an opportunity to get into fiber optics communication. So they invested a lot of the money that they had in an organization or a sub-company called Touch America. And as it turned out, fiber optics sort of quickly gave way to other forms of communication, and the Montana Power Company actually ended up bankrupting over it. There were a lot of other things that bankrupted Montana Power Company. It had to do with the regulatory environment, had to do with some legislative decisions. So what I said is really oversimplifying, but that was a case where they thought they had an opportunity and they went all in. It turned out not to be an opportunity. So that would actually have been a risk, but they mistook a risk for an opportunity. So treating an opportunity as a risk prevents growth, or treating opportunity as a danger is called stagnation. Some people are just risk averse, and sometimes it can get to the point where they won't do anything. So for example, let's talk about illness again. If you're very concerned about contracting an infectious disease and somebody gives you free tickets to go to a very special event, like let's say a concert at the Ryman Theater in Nashville, and they offer you free tickets, and they offer you free plane tickets to get there and an overnight at a hotel. And that would be an opportunity. And if you think instead, this is a danger because I'll be on a plane, I'll be in an auditorium, I might get a disease, that's really stagnation. So it's all a balancing act. All of this is all about amount. First of all, deciding is something a danger, a risk, or an opportunity, and then treating it as such, and operating out of your head instead of out of your gut. All right, so risk assessment requires distinguishing these three in the pursuit of a goal. Well, what is a goal? This is also kind of cool to me. because in order to pursue a goal, you have to know exactly what a goal is. Well, and a goal is specific and clear, and the point of a goal is success, however you define success. Going to Nashville, pitching a no-hitter, keeping the Montana Power Company in business, whatever your goal is, that's what success is. The goal has to be consistent with all laws and regulations. I guarantee, especially when I was working as an engineer, but working as an instructor as well, I'll just share with you, I have never been to jail. And I don't have to go to jail to know that I do not want to go to jail. So I will obey laws and regulations, because otherwise it will be an incredible waste of my time, energy, and money to spend time in jail or awaiting trial or whatever might else go on. So don't ever do anything that is contrary to the law, because it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. In my opinion, you can't pursue a goal in illegal or anti-regulatory manners. A goal also has to be realistic, something you can accomplish, or else it is a dream. Getting back to the no-hitter, what are the chances of me, as a middle-aged, short, unathletic woman, pitching a no-hitter in any game, but in, let's say, a minor league baseball game? The chances are nothing. So if I want to sit on my couch and write some fan fiction and decide that that's something that I might one day do, that's awesome. But if I start like throwing resources and time and energy and money into it, probably I'm working toward a dream and not a goal. And going along with that whole idea, a goal has to reflect the skills that define your institution and reflect your core competencies. This goes back to that Montana Power Company idea, where they had a goal of getting into fiber optics. And really, did the Montana Power Company have a core competency of communication? The answer is no. They had a core competency of delivering electrical power and heat to Montana homes. And so if you go very far afield from your original set of competencies, you're really not pursuing a goal, you're kind of pursuing a dream anyway. So, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, there are three things that we try to do. When we have danger, we try to mitigate it or minimize it. When we have risk, we try to manage it. And when we have opportunity, we attempt to seize it. And that is how we are going to approach the rest of the class. So today, I'll put this lecture up on the Moodle page. It will be right with the notes, so the notes are available to you as well. When we meet on January 30th at 5:30 p.m. via Zoom, or if you come in later, watch that lecture later, that's fine as well. You can ask me any questions. And as you know, I'm always available to you through Zoom, the Calendly link that's on our Moodle page and is also on my emails. So don't ever hesitate to get a hold of me. Also, send me a text. I've gotten several nice texts from classmates today, and I always enjoy that. You never will interrupt me, because if I'm busy, I won't answer, and I'll answer you as soon as I'm not busy. So text anytime, set a Calendly appointment for the many, many hours every day I have available to you, or send me an email. Look forward to hearing from you. See some of you tomorrow night. Talk to you all in the very near future. Oh, in closing, the last thing I want to say is I've been reading your discussion boards and your intros. And like I said, I found them to be really interesting. I'm not going to grade them until tomorrow and possibly Tuesday morning, just because I want to give everybody a chance that's going to get it in a timely fashion to get stuff in. And then I will go back and take a look later, but I want to get the bulk of my grading done fairly quickly to the due date. All right, everybody, talk to you later.